Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Um, Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Again, I'm Jesse. I'm the marketing director at Fade Business Systems Group, and I'm here today with Jake Butikoffer, who's our account executive here at Fay. And Jake's going to be taking you through Sugar 7.5 and what's new. If you have any questions throughout the presentation and webinar today, just ask away. You can put them in the chat box, and we'll try to get to them as soon as we can. Also, as always, we'll be recording this, so we'll be able to send it out to you guys in the next day or so, and you'll be able to share it with your team and rewatch it. So with that, Jake, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Jesse. So what we're going to cover today, thanks for joining, everyone. What we're going to cover today is just a brief overview of Fade BSG, the services and products that we offer. We'll talk a little bit about Sugar CRM, the company, and the background, and then we'll have a couple slides on what's new in Sugar 7 and 7.5, and then we'll just go straight into a demo and then a Q&A. And if there's any questions throughout the webinar, feel free, like Jesse said, to put them into the chat box, and we'll address those at the end. So talk a little bit about us as a company. So we've been in the CRM and ERP industry for about 25 years. Historically, we worked with several different CRMs, SalesLogic, Sage CRM, a little bit with Salesforce, and about 5 years ago, we picked up Sugar. We really loved it, and we dropped all the other ones. So from a CRM standpoint, we focus exclusively on Sugar CRM. We do implementations of Sugar as well as custom development. We have about 25 employees. We have support staff, sales, developers, project managers, a full service shop for CRM. We also do ERP implementations. We do Sage as well as NetSuite. Here is just an overview of some of the products and integration products that we offer. Being that we're a very technical Sugar CRM partner, we do a lot of integrations with other applications that typically need to be tied into the Sugar CRM platform. So we do integrations with Box.com, which I'll touch base on briefly today. And we do a bunch of others as well, ranging from ShoreTel, which is phone system integration for screen pops when people call in, to Sage, which is an ERP integration as well. Talk a little bit about Sugar CRM. So Sugar is about 10 years old. A couple years ago, IBM bought about 70,000 licenses of Sugar. And since then, you're seeing a lot larger companies starting to evaluate and implement Sugar, not only because of its attractive price point, but also because of its flexibility and openness of the actual solution as well. In 2013, Goldman Sachs invested $40 million into Sugar. That's another reason why a lot larger companies are starting to evaluate Sugar as well. And Forrester and Gartner have now been considering Sugar CRM a visionary in their Magic Quadrant, right next to Salesforce and Microsoft. One of the advantages of going with a vendor like Sugar as opposed to some of the other competitors is that Sugar is CRM is the only thing that Sugar does. And so if you look at the larger competitors like Salesforce and Microsoft, they're now both heavily into other markets, whether it's the Force.com platform, or with Microsoft, they're selling tablets and all sorts of things for the consumer market as well. So, with that being said, we think Sugar does CRM really well. They focus on just one product, and they have about 400 to 500 employees supporting the one product. Now, what's new in Sugar 7? So if you haven't seen Sugar yet, there's a lot of cool new features that they didn't have in Sugar 6. So they've completely overhauled the design of Sugar 7 with a much more modern interface. They've added what's called an activity stream, which allows you to comment on records to individual users. It allows you to tag records like opportunities and accounts, somewhat allowing you to minimize the amount of emails you're doing in the application. And there's other performance improvements as well as inline editing, which allows you to stay on the same page without having to click and drill down and go to another aspect of the page and then go back once you're done. And so there's a lot of performance improvements that allow you to streamline your day-to-day tasks. With Sugar 7.5, which was just released last month, they've added a couple new features as well, which will allow you to drag and drop subpanels. There's a My Activity Stream dashlet, as well as improved coloring and contrast, which we can kind of go into and show all the new features in a second here. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and just show you Sugar, all the new features with 7 and 7.5, and then we can open it up to any questions. So what you're seeing here, if you've never seen Sugar before, this is the home screen. So this is where users will log in and they'll set up individual dashboards depending on what their role is and what they want to see on a day-to-day basis. So as you can see here, this is Jim Brennan, and he is a sales manager. So he's trying to track an aggregate view of the business. So he wants to see what the top 10 opportunities are for his sales team. He wants to see what the forecast is for his sales team and how short he is. And so this is kind of an aggregate view, a roll-up of all of his team members. Maybe he wants to see how many calls his users are logging or how many tickets his customers have. And so this is a very high-level representation of what's going on with the business. And one of the things that Sugar added with Sugar 7.5 is what's called this My Activity Stream. So as you can see here, Jim, who's a Sugar user, is tagging another Sugar user, asking her, when's the last time you followed up with this client? So Jen can get notified and come in and then comment back on this post to help minimize on email. And the way that the activity stream works is that it's based off of accounts that you determine you want to follow. And so anytime you look at an account, it's going to have this follow option. And if you click follow, anytime someone posts something to that account, it'll show up in your activity stream. That's a pretty cool feature. It allows you to really minimize on the amount of emails you're doing. It allows you just to post notes really quickly onto an account record, an opportunity. It works on all the individual modules in Sugar. So that's the basic overview of the home screen. If you wanted to come in here and search an account, you would come up to the top right. And what you would see here is you'd see that it not only finds this account, CloudView Systems, it'll find all the related information as well. So if they had posted a document with that name in it, it'll pull that up. So it's really like searching a search engine more so than just a database search tool. The top right here, you have a quick create. So if you want to create a call, a task, a note, you could do so just by clicking on that plus sign and then creating the appropriate record here. And these forms are all personalizable depending on what it is you want to track, and you can make as many or as few fields required as you would like as well. So that's the home screen in a nutshell. The next thing we're going to go over is an account. And so what you see here, there's kind of three components to an account view. So there is the main business card view, where you see kind of the generic information like the phone number, billing address, and things like that. You can have it displayed top down, top bottom, or you can have it in a tabular structure, so you can have tabs at the top as well. And then, so there's that main business card view, and then below, it's what's called the Sugar subpanels. So this is one of the things that Sugar just added for Sugar 7.5, is that actually allows you as an individual user to drag all these subpanels around. And subpanels are just sets of data that relates to the main account data. And so any notes that were posted onto this account, you would see here any contacts related to this account, emails that would sync either from Outlook or Gmail if you had the plugin, basically everything that's related to this account. And so if you're a sales manager and the first thing you want to see is opportunities when looking on an account, you can personalize it and drag that all the way up to the top, right there. And so that's the two part of the account. And then the third angle is what's called this intelligence panel. So this intelligence panel actually allows you to roll up data from this left side. So as a sales manager, if the first thing you wanted to see was how many open opportunities, or just wanted to see opportunity metrics on this particular account, without having to sift through all the data, you could just set up a dashboard here that will let you know you have 3 active for $14,000. And you could do the same with planned activities or history as well. So if you wanted to see, how many calls were made in the last 7 days, calls, emails, or meetings, you could see pretty quickly there's only been one here without having to look through all of this data. And so there's also the ability to post to the activity stream directly on an account as well. And so as you saw on the home screen, Jim posted onto this account here. That also shows up on his activity stream because he's following this particular account. You can also drag documents if you wanted to this activity stream, and those will automatically be uploaded to the account as well. In addition, so if you wanted to search through all of the granular subpanels, if you wanted to do a filter or do a search on a particular contact, you can come into this subpanel search here and just start typing it in, and it'll start narrowing the records based on what you're searching. So Sugar 7 has added a lot of functionality with streamlining lookups and searches and filtering and all sorts of productivity type of tasks in the system. The other thing that Sugar has added is the ability to preview these records. So if you wanted to preview a note directly without having to click on it and leave the page, you can click preview and it'll pull up this note. So as you can see, there are 4 sentences here and there's no way for it to cleanly display in the subpanel. So just by clicking on the eye, you could preview this note and drill down on more details. That's an account screen by default. The other thing that I didn't mention, if you didn't want this intelligence panel, you can open it up to just a straight record view. So you do have the flexibility to determine if you want this intelligence panel or if you just want it to be a regular account layout. There, we mentioned in the PowerPoint about enhanced tools for developers. And so with Sugar 7, this is a box integration right here, and it's much easier to say build custom dashlets and integrations and get them to display into the Sugar CRM platform. And so what you're seeing here is something that we built internally that allows you to synchronize your box folders directly to Sugar CRM accounts or any of the modules as well. And so as opposed to using the Sugar documents where you'd have to manually create a document, take you through the process here, you would create a document, you'd choose the file, upload it, and then if you wanted to look at that file, you'd have to download it and view it that way, whereas opposed to with the box integration, it allows you to drag the files to the intelligence panel and preview them without having to leave the page as well. So if I wanted to add a file to this, I just simply drag it to there. Then if I wanted to preview something, you just click on this button right there and then click preview. It'll open up in this small window here, but then you can enter full screen. So you're viewing all these documents inside of Sugar without having to leave, inside of Box really, without having to leave Sugar. And so there's a lot of things like that in Sugar 7 on the back end that have been improved to allow our developers and our clients to do a lot more interesting things in terms of custom dashlets and integrations and so forth. So really, with Sugar, there's really no limits. It's whether it's worth it or not, because Sugar's ecosystem and their APIs are so open, and there's no cost associated with them, that you can really make Sugar do whatever it is you want. And then here is a list of accounts. So in the old Sugar, in Sugar 6, the way you would have to search for accounts, or there would be an advanced search at the top, which would take up about a third of your screen. And so with Sugar 7, what they've done is they've allowed you to create filters in the system. So if you wanted to come in here and say, I want to look up all my clients in San Francisco because I'm going there next week, you can come to your list of clients, save this filter, and then you can come back to it at any given time. So it's almost like a mini reporting tool for account execs or support staff that are trying to segment the database based off of criteria that they're looking for. In addition, similar to the actual account record view that I showed, you can click preview on any account here, and on the right side it'll pull up all of that account's information, whether things have been linked to it as well. And then if you don't see the appropriate information on this account, you can go to the next one by clicking on the arrow button, and it actually goes through the accounts one by one. Of course, you could always click and drill down and log calls and whatnot, but this allows you just to see basic information on an account without having to leave the page. It'll also allow you to edit inline, which I kind of talked about in the PowerPoint. So this is inline editing where it just opens up the fields, and you just type in their changes, and you click save, and then you can go on to the next one. Whereas opposed to some older applications and software packages, in order to edit, you'd click edit, and it would open up a brand new screen. And then you'd click save, and you'd have to go back to the last view. So this allows you to kind of stay on one screen while you're doing, daily activities or account lookups and whatnot. This is the forecasting tool. So what you saw on the home screen in regards to quota and the deficit on the quota, this is all coming from individual reps that are entering in their opportunities and their line items. So as you can see, Jim is responsible for himself, who has his own opportunities, as well as Sally, Max, Chris, and Will. And these, it can be multi-tiered, and so if Sally has her own reps that she is responsible for, then they would be under her responsibility as well. So it's not just a flat one-to-one relationship. You can have multiple tiers for the hierarchy of who reports to who. And so as reps are updating their opportunities and updating their quotas, it updates this forecast automatically on the manager's home screen. So you can see at any given time, as reps are closing deals throughout the week or throughout the month or throughout the year, it gives you the ability to see that in real time. One of the things that Sugar's added in Sugar 7.5 is they've now offered a configuration option to not just forecast by quarters, but to also do it by year. So that's been a request that we've had several times from our clients. Generally speaking, most companies do quarterly, but at the same time, some companies or a lot of companies don't, and they do forecasting off of yearly quotas. So this now allows you to do yearly as opposed to just quarterly. With Sugar Enterprise, I just want to touch base on this. One of the real main differences between Enterprise and Pro is Enterprise gives you the ability to forecast and track revenue line items on an opportunity. And so you can have, this is probably for more complex companies, more complex implementations that are trying to do sophisticated forecasting, whereas you want to exclude or include specific products from a forecast. And as you can see here, they can all have their own probabilities. They can all have their own close dates, and they can all have each individual products or services that you're forecasting. So with the Enterprise tool, it allows you to get more granular with determining, how and which services or products you want to forecast in an opportunity. In Professional, you basically have all the stages up here, the probabilities up here, and you're not really forecasting based off of a product, but on the main opportunity itself. And so Enterprise allows you just to get a little bit more granular and forecast based on line items as opposed to the main opportunity. This is just a quick snapshot of a high-level report. So what this is showing here is just a list. This is just showing a grouping of all of the current open opportunities grouped by user. So as you can see here, Will has 198,000 of open opportunities. Sally has 457,000, Max 215, and Jim has 25 million, it looks like. And so you can have reports set up where you can see the details of the report down here as well, and then you can schedule these reports. And so if you wanted to have a weekly opportunity report, you can schedule this, set the schedule, say we want to meet once a week starting the 16th. We're going to get it sent off at 9 a.m. so you can update the schedule, and then this will automatically send it off to anyone who's assigned to this report. So it allows you, one thing we do internally is we'll have either a weekly calls report or a weekly opportunity report, close one, and then it's emailed to us every week, and it's kind of used as a motivational tool. So we can see where everyone else is at their current status, how much they've closed, or how many calls people are making. So it kind of motivates us to make more calls or, or create more opportunities. So it's really the the overview of 7 and some of the highlights of 7.5. One thing I didn't really touch on is the mobile application. So Sugar's made a lot of improvements with the mobile application. It'll be integrated with any Android or iPhone in the sense that there's call buttons on the screen. So as you see there's a call button. If you were to call the person on the app, it'll actually call the person from your phone. It'll pick up the phone number from Sugar, and then when you hang up, it'll ask you if you want to enter your notes. Once you enter your notes, it'll ask you if you want to schedule a follow-up. So we have a lot of remote clients that have a lot of remote sales reps that are using the app pretty heavily that don't necessarily do all that much in the web interface because it gives you most of the data you're looking for. You can access reports on the system. You can look up tasks, calls, meetings, accounts, contacts. It'll do pretty much anything except allow you to do things that are limited by the retail space of the screen. And so, a good example of something it wouldn't do is a quote, because generally speaking, quotes take up a lot of screen space. There's a lot of line items included in quotes, and that might be one thing you wouldn't necessarily do. With that being said, as we talk to our clients about this, I don't think that it's a big need to do quotes on a phone. So I think for what most people want on a day-to-day basis, it does 95% of everything you would need on the road. And here's an overview of Sugar's pricing. So it ranges from $40 per user per month for professional to $150 per user per month for ultimate. And ultimate is only really needed for large enterprises that need advanced SLAs for non-business hours or 24/7 support and that sort of thing. So the main differences between professional and enterprise are really the revenue line items that I showed and the ability to forecast based off those line items. And enterprise gives you a customer self-service portal. And so if you wanted to you want your clients to submit a support case through a portal that's integrated with your Sugar system, that's something you might need for enterprise. Sugar also acquired Process Maker, which is an enterprise workflow tool that's going to be embedded into enterprise as well, which is really for advanced workflows for an approval process. And so, if you had, say, a very complex sales process where you had 12 different types of stages, Process Maker will allow you to automate the assignment of those tasks and allow you to say, if you don't complete the 5th task, it won't let you even open the 6th task. And so it's more of an approvals type system as well. With that being said, that is our presentation today on Sugar 7.5. I guess we'll go ahead and open it back up to Q&A.
Thanks, Jake. I got a question that came in on, it's not specifically on version 7, but just Sugar versus Salesforce, what are the main differences in your opinion?
That's a good question. So I think, feature for feature, it's kind of it's hard to compare the two, especially if you're not an expert, um, in CRM, because when you look at it screen for screen, a lot of the things are going to look the same. So there's going to be leads, there's going to be opportunities, and whatnot. So feature for feature, I think they're very comparable. I think the differences are in the way that they do business. And so, for example, Sugar doesn't charge you for using the API the way that's how you integrate with two applications. Salesforce does. Salesforce has a bunch of upselling tactics and features that will get you in the door with professional, and then you'll need enterprise at some point. Sugar is actually really good at letting you know exactly what's included in Pro, what's included in enterprise, and what you're getting and not getting. And so I think it's a difference in the way they do business. I think Sugar is not an upsell-driven business, and they represent their organization that way. And I think Salesforce is the number one in terms of market share in the world at this point. And I think a lot of the times companies go with Salesforce because of the branding, because of the fear of of the unknown of what Sugar is. And so I think a lot of the times they tend to go with Salesforce because of marketing or branding type of reasons, more so than the actual functionality of the application itself.
That's great. And then there's another question on the implementation time. How long does it take to implement Sugar?
Generally speaking, it varies depending on the scope of the project. And so, if we're migrating from an older system that has a lot of data in it, a lot of documents, a lot of history, then those typically take longer than a startup who just has a few things on spreadsheets. And so, it could range anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months, depending on how big the company is, the size of the database, and all sorts of things. Generally speaking, though, a 10-user implementation takes about 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay, great. And then it looks like there was one more question about the QuickBooks integration. How does that work? Is there a QuickBooks integration?
Yeah, so there definitely is, and we support both QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online now. And so it integrates your customers that allow you to do quotes and turn them into orders. And so we've had a lot of our clients that got the integration that were actually able to decrease their QuickBooks licenses because they're able to get their sales reps into Sugar and get their sales data all into Sugar, so they no longer needed information. They no longer needed to be inside of QuickBooks.
All right, great. Well, I think that's it, Jake. So thanks everybody for joining. And like I said, we'll push out a recording of this in the next few days. If you want to share that with your team, and if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them over to us, and we'll get back to you. So, Jake, thanks again, and thanks again everybody for joining. And I hope you have a